Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with an episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players tune Necromunda, build their starting rosters, and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on today's episode, we'll discuss playing a completely unique and narrative-heavy list that we like to call the Terminator Outcast list. This is going to be a House Goliath Outcast gang that is going to be led by the cyborg assassin from the Murder Cyborg Arbitrator Scenario. This list is heavily inspired by James Cameron's Terminator series of films, and by using some of the Outcast gang rules as well as some of the Goliath rules, we're going to create a really interesting gang for this. Now, in this video, we will discuss the narrative background of the gang, describe its unique features, provide a 2,400 starting point roster for you to begin your very first campaign with. We'll also demonstrate how to play this gang on the tabletop and provide suggestions on how to develop the gang as your campaign progresses. Now, because the video will be a little bit of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps down in the description box below so that way you can click and navigate to the part that appeals to you the most. So that being said, let's get talking about how to play T800s and T1000s and the grimdark future of Necromunda. So ideally, the narrative behind this army is that basically it's inspired by James Cameron's Terminator films. I was watching Terminator 2 the other day and I thought this would be an interesting kind of build to create because I remember that there is a scenario that is very much modeled after James Cameron's The Terminator, which is the Murder Cyborg Arbitrator Scenario. And since you can use any profile you want to create the leader of an outcast gang, I thought it'd be kind of fun to create a Terminator-inspired gang led by the assassin cyborg, so that way you can create some really interesting things. Now, the idea is supposed to be that some kind of Xenos or AI has infiltrated House Goliath and taken over its VAT tanks, and because that, it's created these endoskeleton, half-human cybernetic creatures that are on the run. They're also self-aware, and they're also Terminators, and they'll kill anybody that tries to stand their way from achieving their objectives. So some unique features about this, we're using the cyborg assassin from the Murder Cyborg Scenario, which is a really powerful fighter. It's got excellent stats, skills, as well as special rules, so we'll be using that quite a bit as well. We'll also be exploiting gene smithing upgrades from the House Goliath in order to create the Terminator-esque style for a lot of the fighters that are involved in this gang. There's going to be a really good balance between shooting as well as close combat with this gang, so if you want to do shooting or close quarters battle, this gang can do both. And this whole entire list will have really high strength fighters as well as toughness for all the fighters involved in the list. Now, the only real weakness that this gang has really are gas and toxic traits, but we're taking some gene smithing abilities. It's only going to make that a 1 to 6 chance of actually surviving it, making it happen, because then your opponent will have to roll a perfect 6 each time to use those, so it makes it a little bit more survivable. Now, there are some really high ammo rolls for the weapons that are located in this group, but we're going to mitigate that by using the Minotaurium armor container from your Cargate Ridge Hauler to actually solve that problem as well. This game will also feature an alliance of the Slaver Guild, and the reason why we use the Slaver Guild for this is to represent the fact that these guys are capturing people and trying to bring them back to be experimented upon for Skynet or whatever artificial intelligence creating these guys, so that's where we're going with it. And when it comes to the tactics of this game, the idea is that the direct approach is the best approach, so this gang is really much in your face, fighting you, taking the fight and completely surrounding you and destroying you that way as well. So that all being said, let's talk about the Terminator House Outcast Gang starting roster for the Necromunda Ranthia session for 2024. This is going to be a House Goliath Outcast Gang to kind of create the overall Terminator effect that we're looking for all of our fighters, and it's also going to be rated at 2,400 credits. So first of all, we're going to talk about your gang leader. The gang leader is going to be the cyborg assassin, what I like to call the T800, which is basically what the type of Terminator that Arnold Schwarzenegger plays in the Terminator films. Now this fighter is going to cost you 225 credits to field. He's going to be your outcast gang leader, and you're going to give him the survivor archetype. And the reason why is to make this guy a little bit more resilient, because that's what these Terminator is known for, being unstoppable. Keeps on surviving no matter what you throw at it. Now to give it the natural born upgrade to this thing, so that way it gets +2 to its intelligence, +1 willpower, as well as 1 its mind to its cool. You're also going to get the gene smithing perks adaptive mind, so that way all secondary skills become primary. You're also give it Alpha's lineage, which means it gets +1 to its group activation, as well as Iron Flesh, that way it has +1 to its wound characteristic, as well as Prime Specimen to give it +1 to its movement. Now by the time you get done with it, this is what the stats are going to look like for your T800 Cyborg Assassin. It's going to have a movement characteristic of 5, a 3+ weapon skill, a 2+ ballistic skill, as well as 4 strength and 5 toughness. It's going to be very deadly in close combat, as well as shooting. It's got 4 wounds, so it's very survivable, with a 4+ initiative, so that way it's got average initiative. It's got 8+ for leadership, 4+ for cool, 4+ for willpower, as well as 6+ for intelligence. So its psychology stats are really good as well. Now, when it comes to his weapons, equipment, and skills, he's going to have light carapace armor as well as displacer field, so that way he has a 4-up ward save as well as a 4-up armor save. You do have to worry about being shifted in a random direction based on the strength of the attack with the displacer field, but that's the risk you have to take. It's equipped with twin bolt pistols with last projectors, that way it gets +1 bonus on the short range attack. A shotgun with solid scatter as well as executioner ammo. It also has frag grenades as well as crack grenades. Now, we're also going to purchase photo goggles for this fighter, so that we can see in all visibility conditions, and plus it kind of goes with the overall theme of what a Terminator can do. It's also going to have the fast shot skill, gunfighter skill, as well as iron draw skill as base, and we're also going to give it the fists of steel skill as well to make its close combat attacks at strength 6. Now, this guy is going to be a beast in close quarters battle. The shotgun with the executioner ammo will help it to hit its targets a little bit further away to the medium range for shooting, but it's really going to shine in close combat, especially with his twin bolt pistols as well. It's going to make it super deadly for that. At the same time, we're also going to give this thing iron fist, which is going to make this thing have strength 6 punching attacks with fists of steel as well. It'll also be able to shoot 4 times with his bolt pistols at +2 to hit at the short range. This guy will be super deadly as well. So even if you can't get engaged in close combat, you can do some short range shooting with his guns, because there are going to be simple actions for that. At the same time, its group activation is going to be also be able to reactivate 3 fighters as if it had commanding presence, which is great. At the same time, all of its secondary skills will become primary skills, and those secondary skills are going to be agility, brawn, combat, ferocity, and leadership. So it's going to have the full gamut of all the skills available to it to make it faster, to make it stronger, to make it more ferocious in close combat, and it's going to be awesome as well. And this pretty much matches the aesthetic of what I imagine what a T-800 would actually be capable of in the depths of the Underhive. After that, you can have another champion. Champion number 1, I like to call the T-1000, model after the Terminator that Robert Patrick played in the movie Terminator 2, Judgment Day. It's going to cast 250 credits. It's going to have a weird archetype with the Natural Born upgrade as well, so it gets +2 to its intelligence, +1 to will, and -1 to its cool characteristic. It does have Adaptive Mind, which means that all of its secondary skills will now become primary skills. It also has Prime Specimen, which we're going to use to increase its willpower stat by +1. It has an armored undersuit mesh armor for 4-up armor save, as well as a gun-shrouded stub gun with dum-dum rounds, that way it suppresses shooting with the pistol. It's also got paired pulverizers for close combat attacks, as well as photo goggles, that way it can see in all environments, and it's also going to use the Biomancer weird discipline with fast healing, which is going to help it with rerolls for its flesh wounds, as well as the quickening, which we can use to actually make it faster and even deadlier in close combat. So with its stats being upgraded, this is what the stats are going to look like for this fighter. It's going to have a 5-inch movement allowance, as well as a 3+ weapon skill and 4+ explosive skill. It's going to have 3 strength and 3 toughness, as well as 2 wounds. It's going to have 4+ initiative and 1 attack. It's going to have 6 leadership, 8 cool, 6 willpower, as well as 6 intelligence. Now, the reason why we're using some of this stuff to make the willpower stat a little bit lower, so that way we can get off our stack abilities even better. And the quickening is going to change up the stats a little bit. With the quickening, it's going to make it movement 8 with a 2+ weapon skill, 3+ explosive skill. The strength and toughness will still be 3 with 2 wounds and 3+ initiative. It's going to have 1 attack, 6 leadership, 8 cool, 6 willpower, and 6 intelligence. Now, this guy will be a beast in close quarter battle, alright? That's pretty much the idea is supposed to be. It'll be able to trigger its second abilities about 72% of the time, and all of its secondary skills will also become primary, which means that cunning and leadership will become primary skills for this champion as well. Now, we are making a slave alliance with the slave guild, so because of this, we'll be able to use infiltrate and put it on this fighter, and we're going to use that skill until we actually learn the skill for the fighter for himself. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because we're trying to mimic the T-1000 from Terminator 2, which is a very fast, lightning quick assassin in close combat, and that's exactly how we're going to use this guy. We're going to use him to charge indirectly and assassinate his enemies with paired pulverizers. We'll give him strength 4 attacks with -1 AP with 1 damage with 4 attacks based on the charge. Also very useful in stealth application because the weapons don't cause any noise, and that's also why we gave him a suppressed stub gun, so that way we have to use him for stealth or infiltrate. We can do that. And like I said before, with that slave alliance, we'll be able to put infiltrate on this fighter until he learns his skill. In fact, the very first skill you should put on this fighter is infiltrate. Now, our next up, we're going to have our champion number 2. I like to call this a T-600. It is Outcast Champion number 2 at 280 credits. It also has the Gunslinger archetype as well as Vatborn upgrade. We're giving it Dermal Hardening for +1 toughness, as well as overdeveloped musculature to get +1 to its strength and lose 1 to its initiative. We're also giving this a Fearless but Foolish upgrade as well, giving it +1 to its cool and -1 to its intelligence. We're giving it a hardened immune system as well, so that way if your enemy uses a gas or a toxic attack, they can only do so if they roll a perfect 6. Now, for its armor saves, we're giving it Armored Undersuit Mesh Armor for a 4+ armor save, and we're giving it a combo weapon with a bolter as well as a plasma gun with the 40 kilowatt range. It's also got a stub gun with photo goggles as well as Fist of Steel, so that we can see in all conditions, and also have strength 6 with his punching attacks. Now, for this guy with his stats, it's going to be movement 5, 3+ weapon skill, 4+ explosive skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 5+ for initiative and 1 attack. He's got 6 leadership, 6 cool, 8 willpower, as well as 9 intelligence. Now this guy's going to be a CQB beast in terms of close quarters combat. It's going to have strength 6 close combat attacks with Fist of Steel, just like a Terminator, so be able to punch through people's heads. And once the this guy learns basically, once the T1000 learns the infiltrate skill, what you're going to do is we're going to take our Slaver Alliance and put the fast shot skill on this fighter as well. That way he can spam bolter as well as plasma gun fighters. So that Slave Alliance is really going to help us out once our T1000 champion that we talked about earlier learns infiltrate, because we'll put fast shot on this guy. And then once this guy learns fast shot, we'll put the next skill on the next champion afterwards as well. So use this guy to actually do some long range shooting with your plasma guns as well as your bolt guns. He's got a little bit better psychology stats to help out some of the extra fellow fighters as well. And after that, we're going to have another T600 Outcast champion. This is Outcast champion number 3. This is going to be the last of our champions. He's going to cost 255 credits. Now, this guy's got the Mastermind archetype, and once again, he's going to be a Vatborn. And we're going to give him Dermal Hardening for +1 for his toughness, as well as Genetic Ancient, increasing his willpower, his leadership, as well as intelligence by 1 additional point. We're also giving him a hardened immune system, so that way your own enemy has to roll a perfect 6, or put this guy out of action with gas and toxin attacks. He's got an armored undersuit, as well as mesh armor for 4-up armor save, as well as packing a combo weapon, which is a bolter and grenade launcher with frag grenades combined, so that way you can lob bolter fire as well as grenade launcher fire as well. We're giving this guy a Spud Jacket in close combat, so that way he's got strength 4 in close combat with knockback, as well as photo goggles, so that way he can see in all visibility conditions, and Overwatch, so that way he can interrupt enemy activations with his grenade launchers. And his stats are going to look like this after with all the gene smithing upgrades. We're going to make a movement 5 inches with 3+ weapon skill, 4+ skill, 3 strength, 4 toughness, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership, 7 cool, 7 willpower, as well as 7 intelligence. Now, once the T1000 learns the infiltrate skill, and then that's taken care of, and champion number 2, which your other T600, learns the fast shot skill, we're going to use our Saber Alliance to put fast shot on this fighter as well, so that way you can spam using your grenade launcher as well as your bolter and firing it twice per activation as well. This guy is providing some more long range fire with some cover with that grenade launcher, and of course, as soon as this guy learns the fast shot skill himself, we can then move on to a different type of skill for our rest of our fighters. So now that we're done with our champions, let's talk about our Hive Scum. So Hive Scum fighter number 1 is going to cost you 190 credits. This guy's going to be a Vatborn with Dermal Hardening for +1 toughness, overdeveloped musculature for +1 strength and -1 intelligence, 1 initiative, as well as hardened immune system, so that way he has only can be wounded with gas and toxic weapons on a perfect roll of 6. I'm just going to say this now, all of the fighters from the entire gang are going to have that exact same stats of Dermal Hardening, overdeveloped musculature, as well as hardened immune system. Now this guy will have mesh armor for 5-up armor save, as well as a Storm Welder. He's also got a Spud Jacket for a backup weapon, as well as photo goggles, so that way you can see in all visibility conditions. As you can see below, his stats can be 5-inch movement, 4+ weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 5+ initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership, 8 cool, 8 willpower, and 8 intelligence. Now this guy's going to take the point in the assault fire team because that Storm Welder is a reckless trait, but we're using this guy's superior ballistic skill to actually hit more opponents with that Storm Welder as well. Plus, with his close combat attacks, he's got a strength 5 close combat attack with that Spud Jacker, and he's got a knockback ability, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. Hive Scum number 2 is going to cost you 230 credits. This is going to be another Vatborn with Dermal Hardening, overdeveloped musculature, as well as a hardened immune system. It's also got mesh armor, equipped with a heavy rock saw for a close combat weapon, as well as a stub gun with dum-dum rounds for short range shooting. And it's also got photo goggles so that way you can see in all visibility types as well. As you can see, this is exactly the same stat that we talked about earlier for Hive Scum number 1, because every single one of our Hive Scum will have Dermal Hardening, overdeveloped musculature, as well as a hardened immune system. Now the nice thing about the heavy rock saw is that this guy's going to have +1 to hit, so he's going to become weapon skill 3. He's also going to be hitting at strength 7 with -3 AP, piling 2 damage with this heavy rock saw he has. You want to use this fighter to go after enemy vehicles for the most part, to chop them up. You can also send this guy against high toughness enemies as well, and he can basically stand toe to toe with those fighters. After that, we're going to have Hive Scum number 3. It's going to cost you 175 credits. This fighter's got a Vatborn as well with Dermal Hardening, overdeveloped musculature, as well as hardened immune system. You're also giving them a mesh armor for that 5-up armor save, as well as a combat shotgun with salvo and shredder armor. He's also going to have a Spud Jacket for a close combat weapon, as well as photo goggles as well. Now, this fighter's job is to protect the Murder Cyborg and covers Hive Scum number 1 and Hive Scum number 2 with the combat shotgun when you assault forward. That combat shotgun, that rapid fire for salvo rounds, is going to be making really awesome. Same thing with shredder ammo to hit larger groups of people. Use this guy as a bodyguard to protect the Murder Cyborg. Not that the Murder Cyborg need much more protection, but you definitely want to use this guy to protect your exposed flanks when this assault team moves in forward. And after that, you're going to have high skill number 4. It's going to cost you 170 credits. This fighter's got Vat Bore with thermal hardening, overdeveloped musculature, as well as hardened immune system. He's also packing mesh armor, as well as a standard bolt gun, a spud jacket for close combat, as well as photo goggle. You can pair this guy up with one of the champions, that way you can provide longer range fire with the bolt gun as well, and at the same time have strength 5 attacks with that spud jacket with knockback ability as well. So this guy is going to be more of a support fighter. And of course, you're going to have Hive Skill number 5 is going to cost 165 credits. This fighter is going to be Vat Bore as well, with thermal hardening, overdeveloped musculature, as well as hardened immune system. He's got mesh armor for 5 armor save, as well as a stub cannon, just a typical normal stub cannon for that powerful strength 5 shooting attack, and a spud jacker, which is also going to give him 5 strength 5 up close combat. He's also going to be packing blasting charges that he can lob at 8 inches, and he's also going to have photo goggles to see in all visibility conditions. And once again, this guy will be pairing up with another one of your champions, and he will be protecting one of your exposed flanks. Use his stub cannon to protect himself, and use blasting charges to defend the flanks with that huge 5-inch blast template with that strength 5 attack as well. This guy's going to be freaking unstoppable with all the high strength attacks that he'll be dealing out. And lastly, you're going to have a Rogue Doc for your hanger-ons. It'll cost you 50 credits. This guy's got Last Pistol as well as Medicaid, Kill Medicaid, because this guy is worth his weight in gold, especially if you run into a critical injury. And you're also going to have a driver. It's going to be a Guild of Coin Hauler. It'll cost you 410 credits. This guy is equipped with photo goggles and will be driving a Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler with a Munitorium armor container, so that we can take care of all your ammo roll needs because of all the high ammo rolls you're going to have for all your weapons. The Munitorium armor container is going to take care of that. We have a Blade of Armor as well as Crash Cage in order to deal with your first non-glancing hit. Same thing with your Engine Shell. And of course, the Tire Claws gives you +1 to your handling. This is a good all-around weapon vehicle as well. Earns D310 credits every battle that is not wrecked. So it's going to give you a little bit of bump in your credits in order to get you better equipment. Like I said before, the real focus for this vehicle though is the Munitorium armor container, so that way you'll never run out of ammo even though you have high ammo rolling weapons to use. And at the same time, you also have 2 heavy weapon hardpoints on this. I would suggest going for heavy stubbers as quickly as possible, as well as grenade launchers. That way you can pump out a lot of fire with this vehicle. So like I said before, you are engaging in a Merchant Guild alliance with the Slave Guild, and the reason why is because we want to create this idea, narrative, how these guys are capturing human beings and bringing them back for Skynet to experiment on them on, because this is a Terminator-inspired list. So one of the benefits, of course, you'll have weapons training, which means you get to choose one champion or leader, and they have 1 extra skill from their primary skill tree for the battle. And that's what we were talking about earlier, about exploiting that ability by giving fast shot as well as infiltrate to some of our champions until they learn those skills themselves, and then of course we can move on to a different champion instead. We also have the Slaver Entourage access to that, so that way we can use those fighters to use in our battle reports, and that's exactly one of the reasons why we're using this alliance. Now, there are some drawbacks with this, of course, one of them being guard duty. You have to roll a d6 before each battle on a 4+. You can choose any scenario as normal, but on a roll of 1 to 3, you must either play looters, smash and grab, caravan heist, or escort mission as defenders. You also have slaves for the pit drawback, which means that any captured fire must be given over to the Slavers Guild unless you want to test the alliance. And of course, you have the promising fighter drawback as well, which means that when a fighter with a gang fighter X rule takes an enemy out of action in close combat or with a coup de grace, roll d6. On a roll of 1, the fighter is deleted from the roster because they are now enslaved in the fight pits. Or if you roll a 6, the gang earns d3 times 10 credits. And of course, you could challenge this, but it could also put your alliance in jeopardy as well. Now, when it comes to your fighters, you get access to the Chain Lord. This guy's got a light carapace armor for 4-up armor save, as well as a chain axe and shock whip, because that's a beautiful weapon combination. He's also got bio boost to reroll injury dice, as well as a stim slug stash to give him upgrades to his strength, toughness, and movement. He also got the hurl skill as well as the overseer skill as well, but you probably won't be using the overseer skill all that much with this fighter because you want to get this guy stuck in and fighting. After you have your Shackle Man, which is your champion. He's got an armor with flak armor as well as a harpoon launcher. He's also got a shock stave for close combat, as well as a cult icon for larger group activations, and he's also got the disarm skill as well. And then lastly, you're going to have 2 pit fighters for this entourage. Both will have flak armor as well as chain glaives. They also got stim slug stashes to increase their movement, their strength, as well as their toughness. And they also have the rain of blow skills to make their fighting actions simple actions, which is great because they also have chain glaives, which gives them a versatile trait against their enemies as well. So now that we're going to talk about what the starting roster will look like, let's talk about exactly how you will use this gang on the tabletop in your games of Necromunda. So this part we're going to talk about exactly how to use your gang on the tabletop. As you can see, I got this little strip map here on the right hand side on a 4x4 table. The orange boxes represent your enemy fire teams and the blue boxes represent your fire teams. Now this is what your gang consists of. Your assault fire teams consist of your cyborg assassin, as well as hive skill number 1, 2, and 3. Those are the guys armed with the shotgun, the rock saw, as well as the storm welder. Assault fire team number 2 is going to be your pit fighter, your slave or entourage, with the chain lord, the shackle man, as well as your 2 pit fighters. Assault fire team number 3 is going to be champion number 1, with your T1000 character with the Infiltrate skill. Support fire team number 1 consists of champion number 2 and Hive gun number 3. These are the guys who are basically armed with the bolt gun as well as the guy with the bolt gun plasma gun combo. And the support fire team number 2 will consist of champion number 3 and Hive gun number 5, which is your guy armed with the bolt gun combo weapon with a grenade launcher, as well as the guy armed with a stub cannon and blasting charges. And then finally you have your cargo age ridge hauler, which your entire gang will be mounted up in. So when you deploy in the battlefield, you're going to deploy your team kind of like this, with the cargo age ridge hauler heading straight towards your enemy, with your assault fire team number 3, which is champion number 1, using the infiltrate skill to get to a good exposed flank, so that way you can immediately surround your enemy right off the bat. Now, ideally, with the top of turn number 1, your champion number 1 for the assault fire team number 3 will charge directly into one of your enemy fire teams and start engaging characters in close combat. With his superior weapon skill strength, as well as his ability to use his paired pulverizers, he should make short work of anybody that kind of stands his way. Now, while this is occurring, your cargo ridge hauler starts heading towards your other enemy fire team. It opens fire with the guys in the back of the vehicle, opening fire with their weapons directly into the enemy fire team to lay some suppressive fire down. Now, by the time you get to turn number 2, you should be close enough to your enemy to start dismounting your fighters. So what ends up happening is that support fire team number 1 and 2, they dismount from the vehicle and actually start opening fire against the enemy fire team that your champion number 1 is engaging with in close combat. That way they're stuck on a pincer attack. Meanwhile, assault fire teams number 1 and 2 then directly charge from the cargo ridge hauler directly to your other enemy fire team. So that way you have your chain lord, your shotgun, as well as your pit fighters in close combat. Same thing, the cyborg assassin, hive skull number 1 and 2 and 3, also doing the same thing, causing all kinds of destruction as your enemy is slowly being surrounded by each of your fire teams. Hopefully, if you're lucky enough, by the time turn 3 pops around, your enemy fire team is now destroyed, and because of that, the rest of your assault fire teams begin to swarm around whoever's left over. Same thing with your support fire teams as well, using close range shooting as well as close combat to finish them off. And that's pretty much how you're going to use this team on the tabletop with your gang tactics. Now, for the gang developed for this gang as the campaign develops, the first thing I highly recommend that you do is you buy stub guns with dum-dum rounds as soon as possible. A lot of your fighters just have brute cleavers, spud jackers. I highly suggest getting the stub gun with dum-dum rounds, so that way they have strength 4 shooting attacks for close combat, as well as for short range shooting for their weapons. And then, of course, you can combine that with their strength 5 attack from their spud jacker. They get 1 additional attack in close combat as well. And after that, I would highly recommend getting armor undersuits for each of your hive scums, so that way you have a 4-up armor save base, because your fighters are quite valuable and quite tough. You want to make sure they survive and stay in the game as long as possible. Afterwards, I would highly recommend purchasing weapons for your ridge hauler. I would start off with a grenade launcher first, and then get 2 heavy weapons on the back, probably heavy stubbers, or if you can, autocannons if you have enough credits to do so. Now, as soon as you're done with that, the next thing you want to do, of course, is recruit a 4th champion if you have enough credits. Hopefully, you'll be able to build up enough to get a guy. Hopefully, make this guy a more close combat-oriented type of champion. Maybe give him like a pair of renderizing serrated axes or something like that to make it a little bit more brutal in close combat to support your fire teams as well. Also, if you want to, you can also purchase waster dirt bikes for your entire gang if you want to have some serious Terminator 2 Judgment Day vibes. That way, these guys are just kind of driving around the countryside listening Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood and the Destroyers. But if you don't want to do that as well, you can also get Goliath Maulers, which would be kind of cool too, which would also fit with this gang quite nicely as well, with their heavy twin-laned bolt guns as well as twin-laned grenade launchers. And those are what I would recommend how this gang should develop as your guys' campaign continues. So in conclusion, the T800 Outcast Terminator list is a very brutal list. It's got a good balance between shooting as well as close combat. It is extremely survivable with high strength and toughness, as well as, more importantly, giving your enemy the only ability to put you out with toxin attacks of rolling a 6. So that part is kind of nice too. So this gang is extremely survivable because of that. And at the same time, if you want to quote any Arnold Schwarzenegger lines as you're playing with this gang, all the better, because this is a very fluffy list to use in your battle reports. It could be highly entertaining at the exact same time. So what do you guys think? If you guys have any suggestions of some really interesting lists that you want to see in the future, please put it down in the comment section down below. If I think it's interesting, I'll see if I can make a video about it, and I'll put you down as the credit for making it. As always, feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us. As always, also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good to do this week, guys. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.